Need a vacation? Check out our lovely beach house. Here you can have relaxation, you can have a virus, you can get contaminated, you can vomit all over the place, you can even get turned into a zombie and try to attack your loved ones. So if all of that sounds great to you, have a vacation at the beach house. Man, I thought vacations were supposed to be peaceful. But hey guys, it's Zach, and today we're talking about The Beach House, released in 2020 on Shudder, and I decided to review this movie because I heard a lot about it in the horror community. I saw a lot of talk on Bloody Disgusting about the movie. I saw it being talked about on subreddits, so I decided to check it out. So basically, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the plot and what happens in the movie, and then I'm going to get into my thoughts about the movie, about the characters and the pacing and everything like that. So get comfy and let's get started. So it's basically about this couple, Randall and Emily, and they're going for a vacation at Randall's father's beach house. So they get there, and of course the first thing they do is have sex because, why not, right? And so the next day, Emily gets up, she goes downstairs to the kitchen. There's a woman just sitting at the dining room table. Now, how weird is that? Imagine you go to a vacation house, you're like, I get to relax. And then you go downstairs and there's this weird woman at your dining room table trying to act like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. There's a couple, Mitch and Jane, that are also staying at the beach house because they are friends of Randall's father. But neither couple knew that the other couple was coming to the beach house, so it makes for a little bit of an awkward situation. So anyway, that night, everything's going well. They're having fun. They're having dinner together. They're having conversation. They take edibles, so they get high. So everything's going well. They go outside and they see a weird fog around the trees coming from the water. And Jane, being all high for the first time, she's like, I'm going to go check out the trees. So she goes to the trees. They have this weird blue goop on them. So she touches some of it. She gets freaked out. Everyone starts acting a little bit weird after being exposed to the air. So things are taking a downhill turn. So the next day, Jane is sitting at the dining room table again. Emily goes up to her, tries to talk to her. She's not answering. She's acting really weird. She's coughing all over the place. It's clear that whatever was in the air or whatever was in that goo that she touched got to her and made her sick. And Mitch is nowhere to be found. So Emily and Randall go out to find Mitch. They can't find him, so they relax on the beach instead of continuing to look for him because they're irresponsible, I guess. But while they're laying on the beach, Randall makes a weird noise in his stomach. So either he's infected by the virus or he had something bad to eat and he really needs to take a dump.
Oh! Hey, you okay?
Oh! Some damn enchiladas!
But either way, he runs away, leaves the beach. He goes back to the house. While he's at the house, he hears these weird noises coming from Jane's room. He wants to go check on her, and we'll get back to that later. Mitch shows up on the beach next to Emily. He's talking to her for a little bit. Then he says he's going to go for a swim, and he just walks into the water and keeps walking until he drowns. Maybe he was attempting to be like Jesus and walk on water. I don't really know, but he's gone for the rest of the movie, so I guess he drowned. So Emily goes to follow him, but when she steps near the water, there's something that washed onto the shore, and when she steps on it, it infects her foot. There's a hole in her foot. Something's crawling around in there. I don't really know what it is. They don't really explain what it is, but it's really gross looking. So she's all limping because her foot's in pain. Something's in her foot. It's infected. She crawls her way back to the house. There's a nice body horror scene where she tries to pull something out of her foot with tweezers and a knife, and it's some kind of worm-looking thing. I don't know what it is. It's a really disgusting and painful scene, though. So after that, Randall is crawling away from Jane's room, and Jane comes out, and she basically looks like a zombie, but she's crawling. She's a crawling zombie, I guess. But she looks pretty terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. This was probably the most terrifying part of the movie. So she's basically crawling after them. They have to run out of the beach house. So they get out, and now they're looking for help. But no one's around. They can't find anyone or anything to help them. They stop at a nearby house. There's another infected person crawling around, all zombified. So they run away from there. Eventually it's nighttime. Everything's all foggy. It's not fog according to the movie, but they don't explain what it is, so I'm just going to call it fog. But it's so foggy at this point, I expect the ghost pirates from John Carpenter's The Fog to show up, which probably would have made the movie better, but that doesn't happen. So Randall and Emily end up at another abandoned house. They go inside. Rachel goes down to the basement to look for something. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on at this point. But when she goes into the basement, she sees this person that's completely covered in like the ocean goo or whatever it is, just eating someone. And it looks pretty cool, actually. It's probably the best visual in the movie. So while she's doing that, Randall's upstairs. He pukes out some kind of worm thing. Again, the movie doesn't explain anything what's going on, so you just kind of had to guess. But he eventually turns into a zombie too. Emily finds him. He's coming after her, so she has to kill him. So Randall's dead. Emily's all by herself. She finds car keys. She goes out to the car, tries to drive away, but the fog is so intense that she can't see. She crashes into a tree. And then apparently she just dies from the infection too. They don't clearly state it or show that she's dead. But at the end, she's on the beach for some reason, repeating, "Don't be scared, don't be scared." And I don't really know what to make of that, but yeah, that's how the movie ends. So the main thing I want to talk about that I liked in this movie was the visuals and the setting. The beach setting is nice, with the nice water, the beach view. The house is big and it's nice, it's fancy. So that's a cool, nice setting for the movie. The visuals are really nice. The blue glowing trees that Jane is walking around touching, they look cool. All the fog and the weather changes and the water changes look really cool. And it's probably the best aspect of the movie to me is the visuals. There's also a common theme of liquid bubbling up. You see it in the opening credits. The ocean is like bubbling up. There's wine that they're drinking later. It's all bubbling up and they zoom in on it. All this water, all this liquid bubbling up all the time. It's a common theme in the movie, and it's kind of foreshadowing what's going on. Also, Emily is going to school for biology and chemistry and this kind of stuff. So what she's doing with her life ties into the events of the movie and the science behind what's going on with this infection. But speaking of the characters, there's not really much to care about with these characters. You know, you get Emily, who's the smart one, going to school for science stuff. She's always talking about science stuff. She's the bookworm, the responsible one. Her boyfriend Randall is the irresponsible college dropout. He has edibles with him. So they kind of don't get along. It's pretty obvious throughout the movie that they're very awkward around each other. That's another thing I thought of while watching this movie, is that all the character interactions are really awkward. I don't know if that's the acting or just how it was supposed to be portrayed, but none of the characters act like they like being around each other at all. And it's really weird. The older couple are really weird too. They're like that old couple who are really happy to have company with them. And, oh, you can have dinner with us. I don't know why, but old people really like having company for some reason. All the characters are kind of weird. Like, they all seem off. Like, they're not exactly normal. And I don't really care about any of them that much. So I think that's an aspect this movie fails in, is characters. Another thing I don't like about the movie is the overall pacing. It's only like an 85-minute movie. And for like the first 45 minutes, not much really happens. They go to the beach house. They meet the older couple. They get high. They have dinner. They get infected. And then the next day, when all the weird stuff starts happening, that's already 45 minutes into the movie. Like, we're about halfway through, a little over halfway through, and not a lot has happened yet. But even past that, still not a lot happens. Like, yeah, they see some infected zombie-ish looking people, but a lot of the last act of the movie is Emily and Randall wandering around trying to find help. And it's just a bunch of walking and talking, not really anything interesting going on. So the overall pacing and what actually happens in the movie are two negatives for me. Also, just a side note, there are some weird lines of dialogue in this movie that I don't really understand. When they were walking into the abandoned house, Randall's all beat up, he's all sick, he's on the verge of death, and he takes the time to go, "Oh, it smells like rotten eggs in here." Like, is that something you really need to be worrying about right now? You're on the verge of death, you have some infectious disease, but you care that the house smells like rotting eggs? Also, in the same house, Emily looks at Randall and she goes, "Don't be scared." It's like he's dying of an infectious disease. He doesn't know what's going on with his body. but you're telling him not to be scared. Like, okay, dude, obviously he's going to be scared, and saying don't be scared is not going to help someone not be scared. It's just kind of stupid. Overall, I think The Beach House is a missed opportunity. It has an interesting concept, but the movie itself really isn't that interesting. The characters are uninteresting. The pacing is slow. Not much happens throughout the movie. The visuals are nice. There are some creepy moments and aspects, like the zombie people that are crawling around. And there are gross body horror moments, like people puking up worms and people's feet getting infected with worms. And stuff like that's good, but there needed to be more of it. And there's better movies for that kind of stuff. If you like body horror, there are way better body horror movies out there. If you like visually stunning movies, there are way better visual movies out there. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm probably not going to watch this movie again, and I don't really recommend people watch it either. So that's my thoughts on The Beach House, one of the few Shudder exclusive movies that I didn't really enjoy. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Somewhere in between? Leave a comment and let me know. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. And with that, Zach has spoken.